Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 6 in the Gathering Storm expansion. Today we'll be playing Matthias Corvinus of the Hungarian Empire, and we'll be naturally heading in a domination direction. We'll be playing on a standard map size with 8 players on the 7 Seas map, deity difficulty, with secret societies and heroes and legends, with 7 completely random enemy leaders. So here is our starting location. Not an amazing starting location by any stretch of the imagination. We have pretty weak tiles and no real good place to settle down. I'll do a little bit of exploring in the hopes of finding something a bit better, and those hopes have been dashed against the rock. The one nice thing we have is that we do have a pair of luxuries within easy range of a city that we could settle. Now, the thing about Hungary is our bonus Pearl of the Danube means we do want to settle near a river if we can, because we get a 50% production bonus towards districts and buildings that are constructed across a river from a city center. So that's a really, really efficient way to get extra infrastructure in the early game. So I am tempted to move to this tile to take advantage of this potential river location. I could move towards the Mercury or settle on the cotton, but the reality is this is just a low food area. We're just going to have to bite the bullet and accept the fact that we are going to have a very, very weak start here. We do have a 2 food 1 production tile that I'm going to lock in to make sure that we can grow to 2 population, because we'll need at least 2 population to be able to continue. I think I'm also going to research mining, and I'm honestly tempted in this particular game to go like builder first, cause we're gonna need like a farm. We're gonna need a farm somewhere, but the reality is we also just don't have flat land, so we may just have to accept the fact that we have a super weak capital city, and that our best bet is to pick up a scout and then immediately start settling new cities. We do have pretty good science coming from our terrain over here. There is an incredible campus right there, as well as 3 copies of Mercury and 1 copy of Turtles, which means potentially +4 science from just settling in this area. Also found our very first barb camp over here to the west. I'm kind of glad I found this so early, because it means I can do an attack on it and then heal up, and by the time I healed up I should be ready to pick up Codal Laws. Our scout and population growth has lined up perfectly, so they should both pop off next turn. Now, in terms of my second tile that I'm going to work, I have a choice here. I could either choose to work the cotton and grow much slower, while also picking up a bit of extra gold, or I could buy the wheat tile and grow slightly faster without the extra gold. I'm thinking the gold is going to be super valuable here. Since I'm going for a settler, buying this wheat tile won't actually speed this up at all. Oh my god, I do not believe it. So when I went into this game playing as Hungary, I was like, of all the heroes I want, Himiko is my number 1, and I have discovered Himiko on turn 10. This is incredible. So the reason I want Himiko is for 2 reasons. It's because we are the Raven King. That means all levied units gain +2 movement and +5 combat strength, and it costs 75% less gold and resources to upgrade a levied unit. And if we levy troops from a city-state, we gain 2 envoys with that city-state. We also have the second reason, the Black Army, which gets +3 combat strength for each adjacent levied unit. We are playing Hungary, so Himiko is literally the most perfect hero that we can find. Now we just need to find a couple of city-states and somebody to attack, and then we're ready to start planning our actual game plan. And then we're ready to start implementing our full game plan. There's mining. I'm kind of tempted with a bronze working rush this game. If we rushed straight for an encampment, we could get a super early great general. I could also pick up animal husbandry here, which would potentially reveal a good tile. And in the absence of good tiles in my capital, I think that that's a really good choice. So since we have found some tundra, I can pretty accurately guess that I'm towards the south of the map. And if I turn the camera around, you can see there's the edge of the map. So I'm expecting anybody else in the game to be my north. Basically, I don't expect to find any players to my south. Is a simplified statement there. There are potentially more lands to the south of these mountains, but I don't think I'll be able to pass them for a very long time, so I'm not going to worry about that. Also, I've been found by a barbarian scout, but he hasn't quite activated just yet, so I might be able to catch him and prevent him from getting back to this encampment, especially if I can plug in the discipline card. Let's plug in Discipline, and we will also be plugging in God King here, because getting an early Pantheon would be really helpful for me. Especially if I can pick up something like Workboat Pantheon. It would mean things like investing into builders earlier is much more valuable. I'm going to work on foreign trade to be able to get the Maritime Industries card. Although that said, playing as Hungary, it might be a good move for me to push harder for state workforce. Right, we got double attacked by enemy barb units. Let's go clean them up. I can attack here safely and then take the promotion, and I should be able to survive any aggression. Now this scout right here, he should become hyper aggressive and attack either my scout or my city. I would like him to attack my scout, so I'm going to move the scout into his vision range and hope that he chooses to attack the scout. Let's go ahead and promote you with Battle Cry. The reason we take Battle Cry is because this gives you +7 combat strength against barbarian spearmen, and also most barbarian units that will spawn in the early game. I'm going to attack this scout, and then hopefully he will attack me, and then I'll get to attack him again and fully level, although he may die on this attack. But either way, yeah, okay, so he died on the attack, which isn't bad. We do just still have to find one tribal village, and we'll get this scout leveled up, which is obviously what we want. I'll take some time to heal up this warrior as well. Right, we took animal husbandry, and wow, we were unlucky. There is a horse down here, and I think my main goal now is to try to find a good spot for a second city, and ideally I want a spot with good production and growth, which might be hard to find. Since we have the boost towards bronze working, I'm going to get to work on this early, because if I could get early encampments, that might actually be very useful for me. Hey, we found our very first city-state, and it is Rapa Nui, and we were the first person to find them. Now, this is a cultural city-state, which isn't the most perfect one to find in the early game, but that +1 culture per turn in our capital is actually a pretty big deal. That's around 40% of our current culture per turn, which is very nice. Now, they want me to trigger a Eureka for the wheel, which means we need to build a mine on a resource, and we do in fact have a couple of resources that we could build mines on, notably mercury and copper all the way over here to the west. So this should be possible to get that boost and get another envoy with Rapa Nui. And because we're playing a civilization that has bonuses towards city-states, we are going to want to prioritize doing those missions. Now, I have another settler, and I need to choose a location to put that city down. I do feel like there is a decent city on this tile right here that has good access to the coast, as well as good access to luxury resources and science, and generally this could be a very, very strong science city for me, which I think I'm going to make sure that I name that Science City. This is a science city for me, but I don't need a science city right now. I could start building up a science city immediately, but I think I would rather build up maybe a military city, a city that can actually produce military for me. I don't need a military at the moment, so I could safely go for another settler if I so choose. But I think after that first settler, it would make sense to go for my monument, which I could purchase in maybe, 4 or 5 turns. I think what I could do here is purchase a builder. I'm gonna hard build the monument. Yeah, I'm gonna hard build the monument. I'll purchase a builder, improve a couple of tiles, and then I'm gonna move this settler out. So where do I want this settler to go? Well, I've moved him out now, and we'll purchase that builder. That builder will improve this mine and this wheat, and then I'll probably save his last charge to improve mercury. I could settle on the incense. The problem is settling on the incense just isn't a super good tile. Weirdly enough, I think this is actually my best second city. As much as I'm not a huge fan of it, it's still my best option. Pop a mine down at the capital. That'll shave 2 turns off of the monument. We're now 6 turns away from completing craftsmanship, so we can safely switch over to foreign trade. Since we have a builder out now and we should be able to improve all the tiles that we need, we can settle our second city right here. Boom, it's the science city. And in the science city, I feel like it would be a good idea to maybe go for a second monument here. Second monument would mean faster growth. I could alternatively just work on builders and then use those builders to improve new cities that I build in my capital. And I think that's a reasonable pathway to go. Let's get the wheat online. That'll allow the city to be able to grow in between settlers. And we'll keep these 2 tiles locked because now they're 4 yield tiles, which means they're relatively strong. They give me a good amount of food and production, which means we should be able to maintain 3 population without Magnus. 3 population settler production rather than 2 population settler production. I'll pop a mine down on the Mercury. That'll give me the boost towards craftsmanship because that was my 3rd improvement, as well as the boost towards the wheel, which was the mission that Rapa Nui had. So I got +1 envoy with them. I also managed to discover Lahore. I don't know how I got my boost with them. I think I might have accidentally boosted, but I think there's an enemy player somewhere in the north. Since we no longer need discipline, I'll plug in a GOG in case I choose to build units. And then we'll switch back over to finish off foreign trade. Tribal village, this will level up my scout and give me access to horses, which is far from ideal, but I'll take it. Right, there's bronze working, give me access to iron as well as encampments. And we did in fact find a copy of iron, which is a little bit upsetting because I didn't want to find iron. I would rather have put a district here. That's not the end of the world. I'm kind of getting a map of how I'd like to build this city. I'm thinking maybe an encampment on the river with an industrial zone in between. Although if I'm going to do an industrial zone here, this city could be dedicated to military production pretty simply with just 3 districts. The aqueduct, the industrial zone, and the encampment. And this could be a military production city of really, really strong power. Sazed will, of course, be probably a science and cultural city, which means it would be neat if I could figure out a way to build it. I think I might skip trade route in this city and instead go for like Theatre Square, Campus Theatre Square. I'm only planning 2 districts at the moment, and if I wanted to later, I could pop down like an entertainment complex in this city to just get a little bit of extra culture. But I think this culture is mainly, this is like my tech city. Okay, so this is like my tech city. This is a production city. So I think I have my layout for Buddha right now. And since I plan to place that encampment in my capital, I will buy the tile and actually put the encampment down. That'll lock in its current relatively cheap price. Now that I have encampments, I'm also going to work on campuses because I'd like to place this campus to lock in its cheap price. Nice, we have the monument in the capital. Let's do the devotion to Himiko. We'll pick up another tribal village, and this one gave me Hercules. Never mind, we're doing Hercules. Sorry, Hercules is just too strong. We'll get to work on a monument in this second city after we have this builder up. We'll probably go for sailing first and then riding so that we can improve this. Although we kind of need riding to do that. So yeah, I think we'll go sailing into pottery and riding. Foreign trade is complete. We now have access to traders. In terms of our next civic, I think it would be nice to maybe go for state workforce. If I could get my government plans up early, I could also go for early empire and start building settlers a little bit sooner. I think we'll go for early empire here to start producing settlers a little bit sooner. Since we have Hercules to actually build our districts in the early game, we don't quite need, we'll be able to build a few more settlers, basically is what I'm saying. I think my main goal will be to do a lot of exploration here in the next little bit. So there's Hercules, perfect. We'll get Hercules up here. He will immediately build that encampment, which is perfect. I could go ahead and build the barracks, which would give this city a little bit of extra production, or I could start on settlers. And I feel like the settler direction is a good one to take things, or I could build the barracks, get my great generals sooner, use my great generals to explore. What do I want to do? I could also get a trader. Yeah, I could get the trader. Maybe I could also go for a government plaza. Ooh, this could be my production center. Hold on, I have an idea here. So if I were to do like, I don't know, a government plaza here with a harbor and a diplomatic quarter, this would be like the long-term build goal of this city. I believe this city would be worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 production internally. But I also think that 4 internal production is totally fine, or 5 rather, is because it would be actually worth 6, because each of these districts would give internal trade routes. But I'm going to have city-states on my side as playing Hungary, so I don't quite need as strong a production city as I would in maybe a different game. Do I go for the trader though and put it in Sazid to try to get that city up and running a little bit sooner, or do I go for the barracks? Now, the barracks is really appealing to me, but it's only +1 production. But it would line up really nicely with early Empire finishing, so I kind of like that plan. Getting 2 great general points this early into the game would pretty much secure me a couple of the early great generals. Maybe not guaranteed that I get 2 of them, but I think I could guarantee at least 1 of them if I get a barracks this early. So we'll go for the barracks play. Right, we have sailing now that we can do that. It might be worth it for me to buy these turtles. I'll probably want to improve both turtles, and I think my Pantheon will be fishing boats this game. Although perhaps it would be good to take something that gives faith in Heroes and Legends mode to be able to get my heroes back sooner. See here, so production from fishing boats is good because I do have a couple of fishing boats in my empire, which would, you know, improve the quality of my land a good bit, especially since I want to be working these coastal tiles because of the low food land tiles that I have. So God of the Sea really appeals to me here. The other alternative direction I could go is God of Craftsman, which is more of a strategic resource direction, but I don't have that many strategics in my land at the moment. I have horses and 1 copy of iron, so I have 1 of each. So that's worth, you know, quite a bit less than anything, and I don't think I'm going to have high appeal this game, so I don't think Earth Goddess really appeals to me. Fertility rights is kind of neat. I could go for that. I'd get a free builder out of this, but then pretty much no other benefits. Yeah, I feel like God of the Sea is the right move here. The extra production is going to serve me well throughout the entire game. World enters the classical era, but thankfully I'm kind of on my own, so I don't have to worry about loyalty at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and take Monumentality here, I think. Although I am able to get quite a few Eurekas, so I think Free Inquiry is the best route for me to gain era score. I know there's a barb camp somewhere down here in the southwest that I'll need to deal with at some point in the future. I'd meant to switch away from early Empire because I'm about to get it boosted by one of these cities growing, but I guess it just makes sense to finish it now. I'm also going to pop in here and improve this fishing tile, and now we've got a 3 food, 2 production, 1 gold, 1 science tile. That is really, really incredible. It also gave us access to another amenity, which is going to keep our cities happy. There is writing as well as early Empire. We're going to immediately get rid of God King, immediately plug in colonization, and we will also keep a GOG. Although I think I'm not going to be building military units, so maybe I could build a couple of military units. Although maybe I'm going to be building boats, so maritime industries make sense. Let's immediately get to work on state workforce for our second governor title. Governor title wise, I feel like Amani could be an interesting direction to go to get suzerainty of some of these city-states. I could get suzerainty of Lahore. They want a trade route, and Rapa Nui wants me to build a holy site. I could build a holy site on one of these tiles. It's an option for the extra envoy. It's worth it, I think. Tech-wise, I'm now thinking about potential horseman stuff. It would be good to get plantations unlocked because I do have a plantation resource that I could improve, which is yet another amenity. Sazid will place its +4 campus, and then Hercules will immediately complete it. And then 5 turns from now, I'll be placing a second district down in my capital, which will be the government plaza. We have found another player's borders, and it looks like it's the Inca. I'm going to see if I can meet the Inca and start sussing out what their territory looks like. Right, there's the Hanging Gardens. We have access to plantations. We can now build settlers in 7 turns in this city. Let's get to work on the wheel, perhaps. Where's my next direction to take things? I feel like heading in the direction of black armies is the right move for me. So that means killing a unit with a slinger isn't going to happen. I could build a pasture. I could build a watermill. So let's go wheel for access to the watermill, then archery. We'll see if we can get a pasture and a quarry up and a watermill, and then we'll maybe continue on in that direction. Right, there's the wheel. Perfect. And we also have access to the state workforce. What we'll do in here is we will immediately place the government plaza and then construct it using Hercules. So now we should have 2 extra governor titles. And I haven't chosen what to do with my governor titles yet. I think the first thing we want to do is be spamming settlers in my capital to try to just do something useful. So I'll go for Magnus here with provision, and then I'll be grabbing Pingala in my second city to try to get a little bit more tech and culture. Let's boost this turtle tile as well. This city should be able to grow pretty rapidly. I would like a granary in this city, but you know, it's not an option for a little while. Let's start on political philosophy. I wish I'd met a third city-state, but sometimes that just doesn't work out for you. Hey, we finally met the Incas. Right, we'd love to sample your hospitality. He is a little bit ahead of us in science and culture. That's okay. We should be able to catch up nicely on him. Because we do have Hercules. Now, I really want Himiko, which is why I'm prioritizing this monument in my second city. Hercules doesn't really have much left to do except explore. So I'm going to kind of just send him in a random direction and see if he can't figure things out for me. Now, he wants to buy my horses, but horses are precious to me, so I'm going to refuse this trade deal. I can give him turtles and open borders, so maybe he'll give me like a good amount of gold. So he'll give me 9 gold per turn, and we probably won't be declaring war for 30 turns, so I'm okay to take that deal. And that 9 gold per turn is going to be very, very helpful in paying for our economy. I want to settle in a way that gives me access to these horses, because my unique unit requires horses. I also want to settle near a river. And I also need to settle somewhere that I can build a holy site. So I can't really do all of these things in a single city. So I'm going to have to be a little bit more selective. I could settle to the left of the horses, which would be worse in terms of a tundra city, but better in terms of leaving more room on the east side here for a different kind of city. I think, however, my best move is to settle like somewhere to the right of the horses and just get these 2 resources online, potentially 3 resources if we include the incense. I also want to forward settle Incas, so that's another thing that I need to be considerate of, because I'd like to be able to get a road through this area if I could. So forward settling Inca is on my mind as well. And I think I'm going to make forward settling the Incas a priority here. Although I do need to get a pasture and a quarry. Where can I get a quarry? I might not be able to get a quarry, but I can definitely get a pasture. So in fact, I'm going to settle to the south here and get this pasture online. Now, he's actually building pyramids, and I really hope he finishes that, because that's infrastructure he's putting towards not military, and I could potentially conquer that off him as well. Right, monument completed in Sazed. Let's do the devotion to Himiko. It's pretty expensive at 20 turns, but if we can get it, I'll be super happy. We'll get the plantation online for the extra luxury, as well as the wonderfully strong gold tile. I'll probably want more builders and stuff like that. We need to build a pasture and a watermill before we go for the Black Army. Let's spend a little bit of time picking up astrology, and then we will consider what our next move is. Now, Edgar is my third city, and I need to decide what it's going to do. Sazed is my production, or Seged, or whatever it's called. This is a, tech city. This is a production city. I'm gonna need gold this game. I don't know if Edgar is the gold city. It would be much better if it was here, for example, because then I could do a harbor and commercial hub and use this city to generate a ton of gold. But this city has okay land, so it might be suitable as another production city. The problem is it doesn't have a good access to an aqueduct or anything like that, so it would be a pretty weak production city. Maybe this is just like a simple infrastructure city. By simple infrastructure, I mean things like traders and builders. So it probably won't really build much except for traders and builders. It exists to acquire these resources, in all honesty. Things like the horses and the mercury and the truffles. So I think I'm going to spam builders out of Edgar. I don't need the monument or the granary in here. The city exists to send its production to other cities. You can kind of see how I'm specializing my empire a little bit. I'm trying to give roles to each city. I want to give roles that make sense with the land that the city has. For example, this third city, I needed this pasture boost. So I got that pasture boost, and then I gave the city a role that was like of the quality level of the land that it has. And it has very low quality land. So I gave it a low quality land job, which was to produce units like builders to be sent to other cities. Now I want Hercules to actually come back here because I want his heroic relics to spawn near me. Oh my god, I got access to Sinbad. Does that change what I want to do? Does that change anything? I mean, Sinbad is really, really good, but he has Sinbad. Okay, never mind. That doesn't change anything. Sinbad is terrible on this map. For where he built him in a lake. Like, come on. Let's grab horseback riding. We want to get watermills. I think I might stop off for a watermill in my capital. This would give the city a significant growth boost in the form of +1 food from the watermill and +1 food from the wheat, as well as allowing the city to grow a little bit. Yeah, I like that. The city has a decent amount of housing, so getting it to grow up a little bit seems like the right move. Now we have to be constantly thinking about what is our pathway to war? What is our way of getting to war with the AI? And it's going to involve almost certainly building up a city somewhere in here that has good infrastructure in terms of military infrastructure. So I'm thinking right now, I think I could put a dam on this tile right here. And if I can put a dam on that tile, then I could probably put an aqueduct on that tile and a industrial zone there and an encampment there. So this is now +2, 4, 5, 6. This is a +6 industrial zone, I want to say. All built up here. And I want to get that city up and running as soon as possible. So let's get you to here. Because I don't have like an early target, I have to build up cities that are aimed at late game domination. I could have maybe put Amani into this city and used their, levy their military, because they have a small military, but he's slightly ahead of me technologically, so I have to kind of play things a little bit differently. Right, let's buy the truffles, and then we'll improve the truffles. That gives me access to truffles, so now I should have a ton of positive amenities across a bunch of my cities, which probably won't do a huge amount for me because my yields are so low. But it is a nice thing to have. What I could do is, since I don't need this many positive amenities, because realistically, I could give up, 2 positive amenities and still be fine here, not suffer any penalties. But then again, I would also be giving him an advantage by doing that. And since I'm going to be going to war with him early, maybe I should avoid giving him any yield boosts. All right, there's political philosophy. Awesome. We can plug in a government here. I feel like autocracy is quite good. So is classical republic though. +1 housing, +1 amenity, 15% great people points. I can plug in all the green things. We are in kind of an economic phase of the game. So perhaps Ilcum and urban planning, if I plug all of these in, then I'm like in really, really good shape to just expand and produce. Which feels like the right pathway to go down because I don't have any militaristic goals in the early game. There's no way I mount a successful war against the Inca with this distance between our empires. By the time my units march over here and get assembled to attack, they would be out of date. So I have to close the border, and the best way to do that is by expanding my empire. Right, let's grab military tradition, because I do want to pick up veterancy eventually to be able to produce encampment districts really, really quickly. This formation of districts here should bump this up to, I think this is a +2, this is +2, so that's +4, then +1 from 2 districts, +1 from, this is a +6, and then +1 from the iron. If I had another mine here, this would be a +8, but I think this is actually a +7. These are a really, really nice pair of industrial zones. These are going to be the backbone of my industry for late game production. All right, Hercules is dead, which, is far from ideal, but it does mean that we pick up the heroic relic, and that gives me a little bit of culture, a little bit of faith, and a little bit of tourism. The tourism is the least useful part of that. We are working on watermill, so I think I can safely start researching that since it's 4 turns until we finish it. Tech-wise, it might be good to pick up gains of recreation. I think I'd like to pick up drama and poetry because Sazed is going to be ready to place down its 2nd district soon, and I definitely want it to be a theatre square. Again, this city is going to be for science and culture production. And then its 3rd district will almost certainly be a harbour, but that'll require like a granary and stuff like that, and then significant amounts of growth in this city. All right, let's place down our 4th city. This city exists as a military production hub. Now, a military production hub is going to need a few things going for it. I should build ancient walls somewhere. 23 turns in this city for ancient walls isn't bad because it will grow in that time. I want a monument in here to be able to expand the borders. I want a builder to be able to chop this forest. So there's kind of a few things I need from Pesh here, or Pex, before I can do anything super useful for it. And so I think a few turns spent building ancient walls to get me the boost towards the aqueduct, which is something I plan to build in here, is okay. Now I could also alternatively go for that in a different city. Like it would take me instead 11 turns in Egger, and instead this city could work on something like a granary, because the city is going to need to grow. It has 5 housing. It's going to need farms. I think there's going to be a farm quadrangle going here. And that will take care of another 4 of the 6 farms that I want to boost feudalism. So a couple of builders would be good. Yeah, I think I'll work in a builder in here. This city's just going to need like a lot of worker time. Oh, the Incas have actually captured Lahore, which really I don't like. It means I have to liberate that city later. Actually, I've changed my mind on building these ancient walls. I'm going to keep spamming builders in Egger, and instead in Buda, what I will do is I'll just use a builder to chop out those ancient walls in a couple of turns. I do want Warlord's Throne, but I don't need it immediately because I'm not going to be getting the benefit from it. I could, however, use the extra governor title for Liang, and then use Liang to get extra builder charges out of Egger. So I'm tempted to chop out the Warlord's Throne here, purely for the governor title, and I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I'm going to also get to work on unlocking apprenticeships soon. It might be good for me to get my trade route up somewhere. So I just have a lot of demands on my empire right now, so that took out 5 of the turns on Warlord's Throne. Perfect. Yeah, this is a lot of demands of my production right now, and I only have 4 cities. And, you know, I'm already building Himiko and stuff like that. All right, there is our first Great General. We have access to, it looks like a Art of War. So that's actually +2 culture. I'm going to immediately take that because I don't need the first Great General in a war because I don't have a war planned. So I can accept that. I'm also going to grab Suzerainty of Rapa Nui. That'll give me era score as well as access to Anansi. And they actually have 4 swordsmen. I'm about to get Himiko. So this might be go time, actually. How quickly can I get myself a battering ram? A battering ram with these units and a rush towards Black Army here is starting to seem a little bit more appealing. I can levy this city-states, get all 4 of these swordsmen, and probably take out quite a few of these cities with just a battering ram and these swordsmen. What do I change? I think I would build the battering ram in here. Or do I purchase the battering ram? It's only 260 gold. That's only a couple of more turns. Yeah, okay. I'm really liking this potential play here where I use the city-state to crush them. We also found Indonesia. I don't know where I found them. Looks like we found one of their missionaries. Now, I could put a lumber mill on this tile, but this also makes a good farm triangle to feed Egger. So we'll harvest that tile as well. We have Himiko, so we can levy the city-states. I wish Lahore was alive. I might, in fact, use the swordsmen to liberate Lahore. And that would be the main objective of this war. Before I can get a battering ram and stuff over there. I need to trade with this city-state. So perhaps if I get a trader and start this trader off, moving towards Rapa Nui, that would give me a road to be able to reinforce with things like my, battering rams to help these swordsmen. Yeah, I'm liking the pathway and ideas that are happening right now. It's so amazing how one small change in your game and like a little bit of extra information can really change how you plan. So we have our battering ram now. We're working on our trader. We're still continuing this other plan that we had. She wants to buy all my strategics. I won't be selling my strategics. More walls are going up. I'm a little bit upset that the walls went up in Lahore. That's going to make that much harder to do. But we will chop out the ancient walls. Kaboom. That'll be done next turn, which means we have the boost towards engineering. We'll get to work on games and recreation and defensive tactics. This battering ram can start moving with this swordsman. You can actually become a swordsman before we start moving out, because we will have the iron in a couple of turns. Himiko is going to keep making friends with this city-state. I'd like to have 6 inside of it to keep it pretty safe from any counter swapping, because if they take the suzerainty off me, then I'm pretty done. And then more forward settling of Incas or something like that seems good to me. Do I need follow-up military? Probably my best bet is to get a horseman or 2. and just run them over there. Yeah, I think that's my best bet to actually reinforce this war. So we'll grab ourselves a couple of horsemen and delay our settling. I don't know if this is going to work, but it's going to be an interesting gambit, right? Where we levy the city-states units. He wants to buy the Epic of Hercules for the twins. I don't think so. I don't think that makes sense for me. All right, Himiko's Charm. We're getting more faith out of that. You can now become... Did I not unlock? I forgot to unlock ironworking. Okay, so we'll have this warrior walk over. I think this horse tile got destroyed by a storm that rolled through, so we'll have to re-improve it, which I don't like. Let's also grab Liang and appoint her in Egger. Let's start working on builders. We are going to be in a golden age, so if we can time this attack well, we will at least have a golden age, which is really, really useful on the offense. Egger is fine. It doesn't need housing. Do we have tiles to improve anywhere? Probably just need to get these farms online, maybe get an incense up. All right, brilliant. We now have 6 envoys with Rapa Nui, so now I should be able to safely levy their military and start thinking about moving towards this. Although, realistically, I have to wait for this battering ram. All right, let's start placing down our farms. I could place Moaz, but I think I want my farms down. That's a bit more of a priority for me. A little bit worried about Inca's science per turn at the moment. This war really can't come quick enough. Let's trade with Rapa Nui to get a road across this terrain. It's going to be a slow road. Let's place the theater square in Sazid. I definitely need science, so I need science to catch up because I'm just super behind on science, so I'll work on a library. And we will also begin defensive tactics. My question now is, do I produce settlers? Right, let's levy the city-state. There. Oh, I'm going to lose one of my swordsmen. That really sucks. That's a little bit upsetting. But because we're suzerain, we get another 2 envoys in there, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, the city-state made some bad choices with these units. So one of them might die. But I can start moving my swordsmen now the right direction. I'm going to also hold off on Himiko. I'm hoping that in the 33 turns, I'll be able to retake Lahore and liberate it. This is my main objective is to liberate Lahore. Let's see. I'll spend money in Sazid to buy this tile, and then I'll swap it to my capital, and then I'll be able to chop next turn to get something I want out. All right, let's buy this tile in Pesh or Pex or whatever. We'll chop to get the settler out a little bit quicker. We'll place the encampment, continue to work on the settler, delete the pin. We have a horseman on the way to the west now. In the capital, we have the option to chop something out as well. What would I like to chop? I'm close to be getting black armies, so if I get a horseman and chop, would have been nice to have that great general now. Perhaps I chop out an encampment training here and hopefully grab that another great general. Even if I get like a medieval great general, I'm fine with that. Who has gone is my question. Yeah, it looks like most of the classical great generals are going, so I'll be maybe able to get a medieval great general, which is fine. So Buddha, I harvest. That was probably a bit of a waste. I thought I would maybe get a bit more points, but I'm still just a little bit too far behind. Instead, I think the follow-up here is more settlers, because that just means more loyalty pressure, more cities, more power. Yeah, more power, please. More settlers. Mainly for the loyalty and stuff like that. Let's improve the plantation, another luxury resource. Those luxuries are going to make up for the fact that my empire is going to be so big now in a minute. Now, the great thing is Himiko also acts like a great general, so she's going to be super useful in this war. I just need to hit very, very soon, because every turn that goes by, his military power is going to increase. And it's really his tech level that I'm worried about. Like, I don't care about how many units he has. If we're on the same tech level, I'm pretty sure I can beat him. But if he can get ahead technologically, then things are going to be rough. Let's send this settler out west. Pesh got its settler. Now, this city needs to be built up as a mid-game powerhouse in military production. That's going to involve another builder or 2. Although you could say I'm building all my builders from Edgar, so maybe I just work on infrastructure here. Go like watermill, granary, and try to power this city up as hard as possible to a high population. Let's get a second copy of our incense online. We'll sell a couple of spare luxuries over to Gitarja. How much will she pay for incense? Only 3 gold per turn for incense. How much will she pay for turtles? Only 3 gold. Maybe the Cree are more willing to give me a better compromise on these. So he's willing to give me 12 gold for incense, and he's also willing to give me 12 gold for turtles. So combined, he should be able to give me pretty much his entire economy for all of these things, which means I might be able to ask for some kind of thing in exchange, like the Book of Thought or something like that. Looks like he's too hungry, so I'll just sell him 1 luxury right now for 12 gold per turn, and then I'll maybe give him a few turns to get his economy up and running. We might be able to snag a bit of extra gold off the Cree. Lovely, there's the Golden Age. That is going to be supremely helpful. Do I take monumentality here? I don't have that much faith. Are there any religions left? No, all the religions are gone, so there's really not much value in Exodus of the Evangelists. I don't make much faith, so monumentality doesn't do much for me. I don't have any commercial hubs or harbors, so free inquiry doesn't do anything for me. So really my best move here is pen, brush, and voice. But I'm also in a heroic age, so I can pick 2 more, which means I should pretty much, although free inquiry does almost nothing for me except for the Eurekas, whereas this would give me +4 faith per turn, which means maybe an extra purchase using monumentality. So maybe, yeah, this is the most reliable way for me to get value from this heroic age. Our battering ram is now only a few turns away from being in position on this city. We also have support horsemen coming, and we have a trade route to this city, so any further reinforcements will have a much easier time getting over there. I could use my faith to nab Hannibal Barca here and have a much stronger war, because I believe Himiko and your great generals can overlap, and that is 100% worth it to me, because I believe Hannibal Barca's abilities will apply to my black armies, and I will be trying to maybe upgrade this horseman into a black army in the near future. In fact, it'll probably be my main objective, is to get at least 1 black army to be able to take on the Inca here. My goal isn't to hold the Incan cities. My goal is to smash them. My goal is to crash into the Incas as hard as possible and completely annihilate them. I'm going to go for melee units, getting plus combat strength, because I am levying a majority of melee units. And I'll also vote for the city center getting 100% production, because city center buildings are quite valuable and building them twice as fast is quite useful. So I didn't build these farms in this city because I was expecting more floods, and I'm glad I didn't, because more floods have came. Looks like both of my advisories passed. Now that my builders are reaching a slightly higher production per turn, I think it's time to get a granary in Egger. I am also really close to feudalism, so I think it's also time to get my farm triangles up and running for the feudalism boost. So I have laid out all the farms that I want, essentially in this core part of my empire, and I'm going to be getting them up as a priority next. Man, look at that. These swordsmen have 46 combat strength, and I could probably give them 4 extra, which would basically make them musketmen if I changed my government policy, which I'll probably be switching over to oligarchy here soon. Then we're getting another 10 from Himiko. So this swordsman has 56 combat strength. In fact, I could probably declare the war now. And I'll declare it in a couple of turns. But we should be able to run through the Incas pretty easily here. I need to decide on the angle of approach. I definitely want to liberate Lahore right at the start of this war, because that will be a significant swing in the power of my abilities, because it'll give me suzerainty of a city-state that'll allow me to convert my faith into military units. Then I think I'll cut right down through Cash Amarca and go straight for the jugular in his capital, all the while pillaging my way down, and then try to take on Alian Tetambum. If I could take out his 3 strongest cities, that should be the majority of his civilization's power basically annihilated. Right, the battering ram is in position. Next turn is the go turn. Let's get to work on feudalism. We have currently 4 out of the 6 farms we need. So once I place this farm, plus 1 farm will be ready. In terms of governor titles, I think I go for Pingala here to try to get as much science out of Sazed as possible. Once I have this library, I'll build up my theater square. Let's settle this city right here. Perfect. There's Miskulk. We'll teleport my great general over here. This horseman is in position to get upgraded. It would be good to actually have built a couple more horsemen, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So I may come in here and do like a round of horsemen. Although maybe I'll try to squeeze out just one extra horseman. Yeah, I'm going to try to squeeze out one extra horseman here. So I'll delay getting my black army for a few turns in favor of getting a slightly stronger black army by having two of them, essentially. Miskalk has been positioned, and this city's goal is to exert loyalty pressure, which means building a monument. Or sorry, not a monument, I meant to say a granary, because a granary will allow the city to grow faster and exert that pressure. It also has a really, really good campus, so this could be another science city, which I'm going to need to catch up and be ahead of people. So I'll place this here, and maybe if I get enough science or something, I'll be able to get this up and running. But I definitely feel like the granary is going to be important here. Okay, everything is in position. We're ready to declare the war. We're going to do a surprise war, of course, because we didn't want to give him any indication that we were going to come for him. And since we only know a couple of other players, we don't really care too much about the consequences of declaring a surprise war. We'll get Himiko in position to provide combat strength for all of these guys. We'll get the battering ram in position. So this city now is being ripped down in basically 2 attacks. The walls are already gone. This crossbowman should step into the city. And then when we take the city, it'll immediately die. We'll be able to liberate this city, gain a bunch of diplomatic favor, and have another city-state on our side generating resources and lovely things for us. Right. Things didn't work out perfectly how I had planned, but I should be able to do something interesting here. I'll move both of these guys this way. I'll move you this way. Warrior will come forward. You attack the city. Warrior should be able to finish the city. City is now mine. I can kill this crossbowman, and then I'm in position to kill this crossbowman next turn. We have Lahore. If I liberate it, I get kicked out of his borders, which is fine, because everything should be protected. I'm suzerain of them, which is perfect. Oh, this mountain here makes things really difficult for me, actually. Oh, wow. This city is really, really going to be a bit of a nightmare to take on. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. I might have to instead... I think my alternative plan now that I see this mountain range here is kind of in the way, I think I'll go west through Wanuku, capture that city, don't care if it flips it back independent, come down through here, push through Kashmarka. Then by the time I get there, this guy should have healed up, and he can come from the west to get the full 3 attacks on the city. So yeah, I think that's a good way to approach this city. We have a library in Sazid. Let's get the granary for growth and then go for the theater square. Tech city. This is my tech city. Remember, we did this without even having the great general that we recruited. So this is really, really good progress. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.